All right, thank you guys. Happy Friday to you, and welcome to College Football Week 12. And of course, this is our Conference USA edition. My name is Brock Page, and as always, it's great to have you here with me today. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some Conference USA Week 12 action. And we're going to start with the UMass Minutemen squaring off against Florida Atlantic, and that's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Friday night. The Owls of Florida Atlantic, they are the 34-point favorite at home. Totals 52. Now we're 5-1 in our last 6 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 3-1 in our last 4 Underdog tier package plays on that site as well. And if you want to access the Underdog tier membership, that's only going to cost you just $4.99. Now, we currently have over 750 members signed up and active on that page. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And when it comes to this UMass FAU matchup here, Florida Atlantic scored just 14 points a game on average in their last 3 contests, of course, throwing out the FIU ball game. Now, FAU's failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 home games, kind of struggling to get the job done against the number when they play at home this year. And they're also throwing for less than 115 yards a game, so really struggling in the passing game as well. FAU's completing just 54% of their passes, and they average just 1 passing touchdown per game. Their leading receiver on the team, whose name is TJ Chase, he's got just 1 receiving touchdown on the season, and he averages only 39 yards a game receiving. Certainly not his fault, but not a good sign when your leading receiver is gaining only 39 yards a game through the air. Now, FAU's currently scoring just 18 points a game at home, and they're gaining less than 4.93 yards per play from the line of scrimmage. Meanwhile, defensively, as good as they've been in certain spots, this FAU defense has a measly 3 takeaways through 5 contests, so not all that opportunistic defensively. Now, UMass on the other side, I get it. They're not a great ball club, but as bad... What's on my hat here? Anyway, as bad as they are, they've successfully covered the number in 3 out of their last 4 ball games dating back to last season, and that was actually a median point spread of 39 points during that stretch. So today's plus 34 number seems to be right in the sweet spot. Let's try that again. Right in the sweet spot, and in the wheelhouse of what the Minutemen can manage. Now, total-wise, UMass season opener against Georgia Southern stayed 21 points below the posted number. Meanwhile, FAU is 3-0 to the under at home, 80% to the under for the entire season, giving me the underdog UMass Minutemen plus 34 and the under 52 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines of personal leans out for College Football Week 12, and this is the Conference USA edition of college football here. But before we go ahead and dive into some more free content, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are 5-1 in our last 6 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 3-1 in our last 4 Underdog tier package picks on that site as well. And access to the Underdog tier is only going to cost you just $4.99. Now, we currently have over 750 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at Florida International, Western Kentucky, and that's going to be a 2 p.m. Eastern start time as we are trying to locate that here on the board. It is not on our big screen, but anyway, Florida International, Western Kentucky, 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Saturday. Now, the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky are -7, totals 43.5. Western Kentucky is a dismal 0-4 against the spread on their home field this season, 1-8 against the spread overall for the year. The Hilltoppers are scoring just 14 points a game, and they're gaining less than 4.4 yards per play. Now, quarterback Tyrell Pygrom is completing just 57% of his passes, and he's thrown just 8 touchdown passes in 9 games. Western Kentucky's leading receiver, Xavier Lane, has just 1 touchdown reception all season, and he averages just 39 receiving yards per contest. Meanwhile, the Hilltoppers' leading rusher, Gage Walker, is averaging just 3.9 yards a carry, and he's got just 1 rushing touchdown on the season. Walker is gaining just 43 yards a game on the ground. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the ball, Western Kentucky is allowing over 205 rushing yards a game at home. They're averaging just 0.6 takeaways per contest as well. They're taking on an FIU program who's officially 1-0 to 1-0. They're 1-0. They're 1-0 against the spread on the road this season, and that lone cover was against the undefeated Liberty Flames. The Panthers were the 10-point underdog and nearly upset Liberty in that ball game. FIU actually needed a 2-point conversion in the final minutes to tie that one up. It was a close call for Liberty, but the Flames squeaked past Florida International by the final of 36-34. This FIU defense, surprisingly, is holding their opponents to just 203 yards a game passing. Tevin Jones has a pair of interceptions from that linebacker spot, 11 total tackles and a forced fumble for Jones. Devon Strickland also has a pair of sacks from the defensive line, 11 total tackles for Strickland. Rashard Dames and Josh Turner each have an interception from this Panthers secondary as well. And when it comes to the total in this one, FIU saw their 3rd ball game of the season with Jacksonville State stay about 27 points below the posted number. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky's last 4 straight contests stayed under the line themselves. Give me the underdog FIU Panthers +7 and the under 43.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup. We're actually queued up right here. Rice, North Texas, 2 p.m. East. The North Texas Mean Green is -2 at home, total 63 points. The Mean Greens lost 3 out of their 4 home games this season, just 1-3 against the number in those contests. This North Texas defense is allowing 47 points a game on their home turf and over 575 yards of total offense in that same category. Their opponents are averaging nearly 8 yards per play from scrimmage at North Texas's field as well. Through 5 games, the Mean Green defense has just 2 takeaways. North Texas has given up 31 points or more in all 5 of their contests in 2020. Now they're taking on a Rice program whose last game was a 30-6 victory over Southern Miss. Now the Owls are averaging 32 points a game this season, and they're rushing for over 180 yards per contest. Quarterback Mike Collins has also thrown for 8 touchdown passes through just 2 games. His favorite target's Austin Trammell, who has 10 grabs for 219 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Trammell's averaging over 109 yards receiving per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the ball, Rice is allowing less than 110 yards a game rushing. Linebacker Blaze Aldridge leads the team in tackles with 21 of them. And of course, linebacker Antonio Montero has 17 tackles on the year as well. Rice has successfully covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 5, dating back to last season. Now, total-wise, the Owls saw their season opener with Middle Tennessee State fly 26 points above the posted number. Meanwhile, in North Texas's last 2 ball games, their last 2 straight got over the line themselves. They're officially 80% to the over for the entire season. We're going to lean toward another underdog. Give me the Rice Owls +2 on the road in the over 63 in that ball game. Next matchup, not on our big screen, but it is going to be Texas San Antonio squaring off against Southern Miss, 3 p.m. East. The Roadrunners of Texas San Antonio are -8.5 with the total at 52. Texas San Antonio has successfully covered the point spread in 2 out of their last 3. Covers against UTEP and Louisiana Tech during that stretch. Now, the Roadrunners have successfully covered the number in 3 out of their last 4 road games, and they're rushing for nearly $190 per contest. Now, running back Sincere McCormick has rushed for 921 yards on the season and 7 touchdowns. McCormick's averaging 5.4 yards per carry, and he's rushing for 102 yards a game. He has been banged up a little bit, but he does look probable for this Saturday. Just keep an eye on him just in case you think about firing on this game. Now, quarterback Frank Harris is also averaging nearly 5 yards a carry, and he's punched it into the end zone 7 times on the ground himself. Now, defensively, this Roadrunner D has certainly done enough to keep their team in ball games. They've given up 28 points or less in 7 out of their last 9 ball games on the season. And the 2 games that actually did go over that number were victories over Texas State and Middle Tennessee. Now, UTSA has gotten to the quarterback 20 times this season defensively, and they have 15 total takeaways. Cornerback Corey Mayfield Jr. has a pair of interceptions from this secondary, 31 total tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, along with 6 PBUs, certainly lighting up the stat card there. Meanwhile, safety Rashad Wisdom has a pair of interceptions himself, along with 2 forced fumbles, 72 total tackles, and a pick 6. Now, defensive lineman Tremaine Bell leads this defense with 3.5 sacks on the year himself. The Roadrunners have successfully covered the number in 5 out of their last 6 road games dating back to last season. Now, they are taking on a Southern Miss program who's coming fresh off a 10-7 loss to Western Kentucky. The Eagles have scored just a dozen points a game on average in their last 3 outings. A couple more things I want to take a look at here with you. Southern Miss has dropped 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and they've gone a pitiful 0-5 against the spread in all of their games at home this season. Really bad covering the number at home. And as a matter of fact, they haven't covered a game at home. Now, Southern Miss is averaging just 21 points per contest at home this season. They're also throwing for just 206 yards in the air. The Eagles have just 8 passing touchdowns through 8 games, and their offensive line has given up 20 sacks. The O-line has also struggled to open up some holes for Frank Gore Jr., Frank Gore's son, actually the running back here for Southern Miss. Now, Gore's got just 1 rushing touchdown on the year, and he averages just 65 yards a game. Southern Miss is just 2-6 straight up overall for the season, and they've successfully covered the point spread in just 25% of those ball games. Give me the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners -8.5 and the over 52 in that contest. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is not on our board, I don't believe. Yes, it is. Middle Tennessee State squaring off against Troy, 3:30 p.m. Eastern start time. The Troy Trojans are -11.5 at home, totals 59 and a hook. Now, Troy's 2-1 straight up at home this season, 34 points a game they're averaging at Veterans Memorial Stadium. The Trojans are throwing for 359 yards a game at home and gaining nearly 7 yards per play in that same category. Wide receiver Kalen Geiger has caught 41 passes for 523 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, running back Kamani Vidal's averaging 5.9 yards a carry, and he's punched it into the end zone 3 times on the ground himself. Now, keep an eye on quarterback Gunnar Watson, as he's been listed as questionable for Saturday. Both Watson and junior quarterback Jacob Free have combined for over 2,100 passing yards through 7 games this season, along with 15 touchdown passes. Now, this Troy defense is also allowing just 24 points a game, and they're holding their opponents to just 210 passing yards a game at home. Cornerback Terrence Dunlap has 3 interceptions from this Trojan secondary. He also has 18 total tackles and 6 PBUs. Carlton Marshall leads the Trojans in tackles from that linebacker spot. Marshall's got 55 total tackles and 3 PBUs. Now, the program actually has Marshall listed as 5'9", 216 pounds. So definitely some impressive stats out of an undersized guy. Dude must be tough as nails, because he'd actually, if we stood side by side, he'd make me look like a giant. So anyway, Troy's won 6 out of their last 8 meetings with Conference USA. Meanwhile, Middle Tennessee State is coming fresh off a 42-14 loss to Marshall. The Blue Raiders are just 2-6 straight up overall for the season, and they failed to cover the point spread in 8 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Troy. This Blue Raider defense is allowing nearly 240 yards a game on the ground, along with giving up over 6 yards per play from scrimmage. Middle Tennessee has also lost 7 out of their last 8 meetings against Troy as well. Now, total-wise, Middle Tennessee's last 4 straight ball games got over the posted number. They're officially 4-1 to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, we're looking at a Troy Trojans program here who saw 2 out of their last 4 get over the line themselves. Give me the Troy Trojans minus 11.5 at home and the over 59 and a hook in that ball game. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. Most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.